Chill us with EKSE, Monday to Friday, we keep on learning every day. We keep it real, Monday to Thursdays, entertainment Fridays. Just so you know, it's 5 p.m. we're going live now. Just so you know, till 6, don't touch the dial, go. Just so you know, it's 5 p.m. we're going live now. Just so you know, till 6, don't touch the dial, go. Youth Block of the Year, catch us everywhere. Hashtag line EKSE, uzofiwa this year. Youth Block of the Year, catch us everywhere. Hashtag line EKSE, uzofiwa this year.
Man, and very welcome, good everything and everybody. Welcome to EKSE Live here on DSTV channel 263. Niphetha abantu basenyongweni. Yes, ngusibonile Khali, Mr. Presenter, Khotmaneni, the one and only Buddha. And today, we do have a very interesting topic to you guys because it's been a topic that it's been going on for a very long time. Yes, we are talking climate change. And we do have Gabriel Klaassen from the ACA, an African Climate Alliance, then later on the show that we'll be talking to and actually get to know what it is in climate change, what it is, and how we can actually get to reduce our carbon footprint. And also we do get to play a game. And obviously, you know, I'm the game master by default, and I think I'm always the winner, so I can't wait to actually win. If there's a guest, I'm taking it out by fair. But yes, last but not least, we do have Ufika NR featuring Ukanya Meiki, who will be giving us 2 performances later on the show. So, ladies and gents, welcome to Destination Awesomeness.
Sibu already introduced, we are focusing on climate change and global warming this episode. The reality is that it is such a difficult conversation, but such a needed conversation. And you know, it's something that everybody has to get involved in on the level that they can. And right now, we have the one and only Lisa Makaula from the Green Connection. She's going to be chatting to us about what is global warming, what's climate change, and you know, what's it got to do with us at the end of the day. Yeah, how are we feeling?
Yeah, most definitely. I'm super excited for today's conversation. I think more than excited, I'm very concerned and worried because when we speak about climate change, it's a very scary topic. When we speak about the realization of it and we see how our temperatures and our weather is changing from time to time. So it's a very important conversation for us to have. But of course, we never have these conversations alone. We do want you guys to also hop in the conversation. Let us know what you guys think about. If you have any experiences of climate change, you know, we know that Cape Town weather skyrockets. One day it's summer, one day it's winter. You never know what's happening. So today we are talking all about that. Make sure that you are joining the conversation on all of our social media platforms. We are, of course, EKSE Live on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You have rather absolutely no excuse to not hit us up.
So, Lisa, one of my first questions is, why is it so important to create awareness about climate change? Why does it matter that people know what's going on?
Thank you for having me, first of all. It's very important for actually the youth mostly to understand the impact of climate change because we're seeing in many parts of the world that there's been changes in weather patterns, especially here in South Africa with the recent natural disasters in Durban. We've seen how livelihoods of people have been impacted. So it's vital for us as the youth to actually take action and fight, you know, these environmental injustices.
And perhaps when you speak about the causes of climate change now, what can you say about the cause of climate change? Because I think maybe a lot of people are misinformed, you know, about what climate change is, how it affects us in our day-to-day lives. So what are the causes of climate change?
Basically, causes of climate change, it's fossil fuels, which is one of key topics that we focus on at the Green Connection is oil and gas exploration. So oil and gas exploration, it's fossil fuels that release carbon dioxide emissions and also, you know, carbon dioxide emissions are part of greenhouse gas emissions, which later on contribute to climate change, where now you realize that there's changes in weather patterns, you know, with global warming as well. And also given that South Africa is a country that actually signed an agreement to actually reduce this greenhouse gases and this greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, and there hasn't been any action so far. It's draining. And also I think it would be very important for like climate change issues to be actually part of, you know, school curriculum so that kids grow up knowing the impacts and how they can actually mitigate those impacts of climate change.
I think that's, you spoke about something so salient, so important, and Michele and I were chatting about it off air way earlier today, about how scary, you know, the reality is. And you were saying how kids should get taught about climate change and global warming in school already. Does recycling and trying to eat less meat and driving less, does what we do actually make an impact? Does it actually make a difference?
Obviously, you know, transitioning to like sustainable sources of energy, it wouldn't be that quite easy. It's a journey, especially South Africa is a developing country, so it would be quite a journey. But like starting bit by bit, it does make change. You may not see it now, but the impacts will be lesser compared to what impoverished communities might actually experience with, you know, climate change issues.
So you spoke about, you know, how South Africa signed an agreement, you know, to help combat climate change. What is then the danger of us as citizens of the country, as the government? What is the danger of us not taking steps to ensure that we're doing something about climate change? How does that affect the holistic approach of our weather patterns and our climate change within South Africa, across the globe? Just take us through the dangers. If we don't do anything about climate change, what does that mean for the future of the globe, the earth, South Africa?
So basically, if I understand you pretty well, it's the impacts of climate change. So it would be, you know, heat waves, droughts. We have been seeing there's been like skyrocketing temperatures in Johannesburg just the past few weeks. So it would be like issues like that, and also you'll find out that some communities might actually experience floods. The issue that I've recently spoken about, the Durban one, whereby communities were actually left without houses because, you know, those are one of the impacts of climate change. And also there would be like, you know, destruction in terms of wildlife because of wildfires. So those like are impacts that are associated with climate change, and they're quite very bad when they're affecting people in communities that don't actually have anything, and they just dependent on nature. So it becomes quite difficult.
I want to ask, you know, if there's somebody at home that's watching, let's say they're 8 years old or 16 years old, or even, you know, mid-20s, and they're like, okay, I'm making a decision today. I'm going to do something. What are those little basic things that people can do to help combat global warming and climate change in their own capacity?
So first of all, I think it's very important to be knowledgeable about, you know, about issues around climate change and associating yourselves with like organizations that push the narrative about climate change, trying to make change in society. So we're one of those organizations, the Green Connection. We're just everywhere in the world. We mostly focus with coastal communities, where we're actually trying to ensure that we amplify voices of those coastal communities in terms of how they are impacted by these risks, you know, associated with climate change. So you can associate yourself with organizations like that, and also we have currently have a petition that we're running. So the petition is to actually stop offshore oil and gas exploration and demand government to actually implement, you know, sustainable energy sources. We know it's not going to be an easy transition, but we want to see you know, a process whereby there's like implementations in place of actually going to like a greener energy future. So people can associate themselves with green organizations and partner with those organizations, even join a volunteers group and just try to acquire more knowledge that you can actually share with, you know, communities, because we understand not everyone is exposed to this kind of content. So creating content that is actually most accessible and easy for people to understand. So that would be like a good step for someone who wants to, you know, take action and combat climate change.
And perhaps just before we let you go, if someone is sitting in that home and they would like to join maybe Green Connection or other organizations, where can they find you guys on social media, and how can they sign the petition? Because that'd be a petition that I would also like to sign myself.
Well, our social media platforms, on Twitter, you can find us at The Green Connect, and on Facebook, it's at The Green Connection, and we have Instagram as well, at The Green Connection. But for easy accessibility, you can visit our website, www.thegreenconnection.org.za. So that is our organization, and you can easily access our petition on our website platform as well. Every information is there. And yeah, we also have other actions that are currently happening in communities. If you'd like to find out what is happening where, you can simply drop us a message on our social media platforms. And yeah, we can take it from there.
Yeah, man, ladies and gentlemen, it's Belela Kunulisa from Green Connection. Right now, I want to head over to Sibu to see what's with social media.
Thank you, Mihlali. And I must say that these are one of the topics that we actually get to sit down and actually get to understand deeper. But before we get to do that, we want you to hop on with social media platforms there because we do have a question for you guys. Is how do you guys protect the environment? And some people might think, it's just a plastic of chips. But you have to be careful because such stuff do have an impact on how the environment is. And we all know how plastic is not really healthy for the environment. So please make sure you hop on with social media platforms there or you give us a ring on 021 448 but right now, let's go and sell amanzi and we'll be back after this. Welcome back, ladies and gents. EKSE Live here on DSTV channel 263. If you just tuned in now, you have Vavas J, because we did have a conversation later on. Before this, we had a conversation with Ulisa Makaula, Usuka all the way from the Green Connection. The topic about the climate change still continues right now, and I'm pretty excited because there's so many questions we have about the environment and how we can keep it safe and how we can prevent from such stuff from happening. But right now, we're still continuing the conversation, so let's get straight to it.
And of course, before we head on to that, this conversation is nothing without your voice, so please do make sure you're engaging with us on our social media platforms. To hit us up on Facebook, hit us up on Instagram, and of course on Twitter. If you have any experiences of how, I'm sure we all do though.
Yes, we do.
And I'm trying to push so
Let's
there's definitely, guys, there's no such. I am very responsible citizens, but enough about us. We're gonna head over to a conversation with, of course, Lisa. So Lisa, earlier on, we spoke about climate change and how it us on a daily basis as the citizens, as the government, we all contribute, to climate change and how it affects us on a daily basis. So can you now speak about a carbon footprint? Because there's something that's called carbon footprint. And perhaps for someone that is hearing this word for the very first time today, just take us through what's a carbon footprint.
Oh, taking me back to geography class. Well, a carbon footprint is basically the amount of greenhouse gas emissions that an individual actually, emits.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah.
Really?
Simple. I said content needs to be simple so that everyone can understand.
Okay.
Important.
Okay, because that's very interesting with what you just said now is the emission that a person or a single person emits. Yes. Because I want to ask now, what happens for someone who maybe owns a farm? Because I do believe that cows do release a methane gas. So how do we, because we do I can be for climate change, but if I have a farm, does it mean I'm for climate change, but still contributing to it? So how do you actually get to work your way around that?
As I've said before, that those processes, they require like a slow transition. Obviously, it's not going to be just a switch off to sustainable energy sources and to people not eating meat at all. But educating people about the processes of climate change and how people are actually impacted, and how they are actually those greenhouse gas emissions are emitted is much more better, because now people will find sustainable ways of actually combating climate change and ensuring that there's not much more like greenhouse gas emissions that are produced.
Now, as individuals, we do know what we use sprays. I've seen, sprays, bottles, perfumes, there's always, an indication there of the type, or it says something about safety. I think it also speaks to what was being about earlier on, about the agreement that was signed, with South Africa, to say that this is a pledge that we're taking to fight and combat the global warming and the climate change rather. So when we speak about us as individuals, as Sibu has said, and I think Lauren also mentioned earlier on, that what can we do, particularly now with climate change and global warming, what can we do on our day-to-day basis? Should we buy products that have that indication to say, it's okay, this was checked, it was verified, it's safe for you to use it, how will it harm the environment? As abantu abaphila up in South Africa, to ensure that we are also contributing to fighting global warming and climate change, even by products that we buy.
I'd literally just say that for me, I think it's best if someone takes a decision that actually these are the products that I think they will, they'll work best for the country for us to actually combat global warming and climate change. Obviously, it's not going to be an easy journey because people are already used to some of the products that they are already using. But, taking one step at a time, it is something at the end of the day.
Okay, so let's go to the ocean now and take a swim. How does all of this affect? Because I do remember, I think a few years back, where I actually got to see a video that was trending everywhere of a tortoise or iskopati, that is a sea tortoise. It had like a straw in the nose, and a lot of people were angry about it. How people actually, it's the cause of humans and all that. So does that affect the oceans?
So we have a campaign, the Who Stole Our Oceans campaign, and that campaign basically it promotes sustainable development and also oceans that are protected from harmful activities, and that is your oil and gas exploration, which is like the main topic of the campaign. So we normally hold beach cleanups like once or twice in a year, depending, because we usually have World Oceans Day on, like in June, and we usually hold beach cleanups, and that is to advocate, for sustainable oceans and for people to, to act right. Stop littering, and if you see a paper, just pick it up. There's no need for you to throw plastics in the oceans because there's other living organisms there, and obviously they can't fight for themselves, they can't fend for themselves because it's animals, marine animals. So for us as humans who were given brains, to think and to make sense out of something, it is vital for us to take actions and ensure that, ecosystems and marine lives, they actually, safe and secure.
Okay.
When will you be having your next beach cleanup? Maybe for abantu that would like to be a part of it and maybe perhaps volunteer. Yabona, so that bazokwazi babancedise nabo.
So people can just follow us on our social media platforms. Whatever action that we'll be having in that particular month, we usually share it on our social media. We make sure that we amplify that. We usually have those beach cleanups like around June and September on your World Oceans Day. But now I think it would be great for the youth to actually just take initiative just once a week. Go do something, make a change. You don't need to wait for a specific organization to promote something, to go out there and take action. You as an individual, you have something you believe on, and you believe in, so you can definitely do something about that.
Okay, so it brings me to my question that you guys spoke about. You saying that there's e-appliances or maybe body sprays or like some stuff that you can use in like that are substitute for that are not harmful to the environment. I do have a problem with paper straws, I must say, because they said that okay, we're moving from plastic straws to paper straws, but you'd find now these things that we are putting in place so that okay, we can try to reduce, they don't really satisfy us in terms of this body spray. The one that harms the environment makes me smell good than the one that doesn't really. So how do you actually get people to switch sides?
It goes back now to you switching your mindset, first of all, and trying to make sure that you stick by what you believe in. So if you believe that this is an initiative that you want to take and you really want to make sure that the environment is protected, then obviously it's not going to be an easy journey to just switch off like immediately. But obviously if you really want to see change in the world, you just take one step at a time. I know paper straws, not everyone is happy about it, but at least they're biodegradable. They break down and are absorbed by the earth's surface instead of just being stuck in the beach and then like other animals get caught up in it, which causes damage later on.
I think the most important lesson that I've learned now from all the conversations that we're having today, us as humans, we have a responsibility because it's so clear that our interaction and how we engage within nature, is going to set and determine the future that we're going to be living in hundreds of years from now, so we must, of course, think about generations that are to come. But